Hello, and welcome back to PalmWood Event and Conference in Fort Worth, Texas. This is episode 2 of our wedding planning video series, and I'm Amy Shackelford, General Manager for PalmWood Event and Conference, and thank you for joining me. As you may know, each week I will bring over 2 decades of industry experience to the table, giving you insight to the best tips, suggestions, and strategies for planning a wedding. My hope is to alleviate stress from the wedding planning process and to help you elevate your overall planning experience. This week's theme is about selecting a venue for the reception, and this topic happens to be near to my heart as I've been working in wedding venues for about 20 years. The reason venue should be the first thing that you do as far as selections for your wedding is because it really helps center all of your decisions from the whole wedding planning process. Obviously, you need to consider your date availability, if the venue is available when you are. Obviously, super important. But date availability becomes much more than just the day of the week, right? It's not just a calendar date. It's about what's happening in your hometown. If there's a big festival that takes place that weekend, may not be a good day. If it's based on football and you're from the South, which maybe you are, you certainly don't want to pick the wedding date when the majority of your guests might be at a football game. Holidays, those are hit and miss sometimes. Maybe you expect that your guests would be traveling for the holidays and they would be willing to travel to you, and so that may be great. You also want to consider how vendors feel about this particular venue. Reputation between vendors will tell you a lot about a venue. If there's access to power, if the policies to load in are really strict or perhaps not accessible, if there's a loading dock, if there is a freight elevator, all those things are super important to understand about your venue. Friendly staff is super important as well. If your venue treats the vendors poorly, then your vendors will not be happy for your reception, and that's really important. You want a happy DJ helping you MC all night long, and so you want to make sure that the venue has a good reputation of treating vendors well. Another thing to consider that I hear from photographers a lot is natural light. Natural light can really help your photos during the wedding, and obviously it's a really big part of your memory and what you're having. So natural light is really important. Take your guests into consideration when you're planning or picking your venue. Parking, is it close? Is it easy? Is it clean, lit, covered? All those things are super important. You also might think about how the venue overall comes across to your guest. Is it clean? Are the aesthetics beautiful? And another thing is check out the restrooms. Well-kept restrooms really say a lot about a venue. The other thing to consider is guest count. Obviously, you cannot fit 200 people in a room built for 100 people. It just will not work. But you also don't want 100 people in a room that was typically designed for 300 guests. And so you have to think through those logistics and the space that you're using so that maybe you can creatively utilize the space and it work for you. You also need to understand what you're going to have to outsource that the venue doesn't have. In some cases, that may be tables, chairs, dance floor. Maybe it's a particular table that you've had your heart set on that might be part of your passion point or maybe a wow factor for your event. So really understand what they have in-house that you can utilize and you may have to outsource. Consider if you're gonna have your ceremony where you're gonna have your reception. A lot of bride and grooms like that ease for their guests. The transportation is cut down, setup may be cut down. In some cases, the budget may even be impacted if you have your ceremony and reception at the same location. I really suggest that. My husband and I got married in the same place where we had a reception, and it was a really neat aspect of our wedding that we really enjoyed. Obviously, if you are set on getting married in the church where you grew up, or perhaps there's something really beautiful and magical about a chapel, then do it. Obviously, that's going to be a reflection of you and your groom. Main thing, budget. I know it's a big topic in a lot of these videos and things you're going to hear about wedding planning. Typically your venue, because it's associated with food and beverage, is the #1 item on your list as far as the percentage of expenditure for your budget. So obviously it is a big part and it's a big decision. Matter of fact, it's the foundation of your reception most likely. But understanding what that budget includes is really important. And a lot of times you can't take a a proposal from one venue and compare it to another, because they offer so many different things, and things that may not be on the list are included where you may not understand it. I'll talk about that in respect to PalmWood. We provide a lighting option in our packages that we don't really talk about, but it really does add phenomenal value to the reception. Another thing that we do, obviously, is our catering team. We have an in-house catering team, and so we provide flatware and china and glassware with all of our packages. And in some cases, you have to bring in a caterer, and that place setting could cost anywhere from $6 to $12 a person. And so there are some cost-saving features by having events here. We have a ceremony location that's beautiful outdoors, and a lot of Texas brides really appreciate the outdoor areas that we have here. I just toured a bride and groom today, and they really like the modern museum type feel that we have here because it's clean and fresh, and the views are spectacular here at PalmWood Event and Conference. And we're really proud to be at the forefront of our city and all the events that we're hosting. Please leave a comment below and tell me about what resonated more to you about picking a venue. I'm really grateful you're spending your wedding planning time with me. I think that this is a great place to be if you're wanting to create a memorable wedding experience. If you haven't done so, please follow us on all of our social media. And if you're interested in touring PalmWood Event and Conference, please email me at ashackelford@palmwoodevents.com. I wish you the best. Cheers. So the budget's super important for venues. You see, I keep doing, but it's a big part. Oh my gosh, who's whistling? What was that? The elevators. Who the heck is coming up here right now? I don't want to hear the elevator anymore. I think I might need a shot of tequila.